everybody. Welcome to this week's Learning Space. My name is Nicole Gugliucci. I am a postdoc with CosmoQuest, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts today, Pamela Gay and Georgia Bracey.
No.
Take that one. And that. Pamela just dropped down.
Hi, I'm Georgia.
Georgia's our formal education lead at
CosmoQuest,
and Pamela Gay. Yeah, she shares in a different building and having trouble as well. So this will be interesting. This will be a good ride. And we are joined today by Connie Walker and Scott Kardel. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
They're over in Arizona at the NOAO, National Optical Astronomical Observatory, and for some reason it's also snowing in the desert today. So how is that?
It was totally unbelievable. I could not believe it. I was on a telecon. I looked outside my window, and there were these huge snowflakes coming down, and my eyes just went. I couldn't speak for about 2 minutes.
It's bad for astronomy, but you know we need the moisture. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've been seeing pictures coming back from the observatories around Tucson, and yeah, everyone's just like, I don't know what to do with this fluffy stuff. That's pretty fun. So when it's not precipitating fluffy things from the sky and completely cloud covered, there's a gorgeous night sky for us to enjoy, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the issue of dark skies, preserving our dark skies, preserving our night skies, and the Globe at Night project, right? So, oh, and I know Connie and Scott have our demo of the week for us, so I didn't have to scramble to get one together today, so we'll get to that when you guys are ready. So, Connie, why don't you tell us a little bit about what is Globe at Night?
Well, Globe at Night is a citizen science campaign. It measures how bright or how dark your night sky is, and it does this in a very easy manner. And it invites people all over the world to be a researcher for a night or two, or how many nights they would like to do that, and to go outside, look at a constellation very similar to Orion, and look at what it appears to be, how many stars there might be, not counting them, but actually just trying to see what the faintest star might be and comparing what they see to one of 7 charts. And each of the charts gets, it has more and more stars on them. It gets progressively fainter. So it's really kind of neat. So like chart 1 will be like you have in New York City, just 2 stars maybe towards Orion. And chart 7 will be like what you might have in a national park. And so they just choose the chart and put that online, and it goes into a big database with a bunch of other data from around the world.
I just wanted to point out real quick as well for our audience, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, if you have comments or questions or want to say anything about these dark skies activities we're talking about, you can comment in several places. You can comment on the YouTube page where this is broadcasting. We'll see that. You can comment on the event page on any of the other pages that this is posting on Google+. If you are watching somewhere else and want to use Twitter, use the hashtag #LearningSpace, and we will see your comment there as well. So we'll try and get through your questions throughout the show. Hi, Pamela. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hey, Pamela.
So sorry. As we were talking about before we went live, Nicole, Georgia, and I are all at 3 different locations in Edwardsville, although the 2 of them are probably about 100 feet apart.
Well, yeah, she's down the hall.
Yeah. So both our campus and my home are having bad internet, and it's 2 completely different service providers. So we're concerned that the Midwestern storms are borking something between Illinois and California. So hopefully the show will not go as badly as the ice storms that are expected to hit us tomorrow.
Right.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell us, Connie, a little bit about what you mean by light pollution? What do we mean when we talk about light pollution?
Well, you can think of light pollution as the effect is the sky is sort of washed out by the streetlights, mostly from cities that are not sufficiently shielded. And that's the primary reason for why we get stars that are washed out at night, contribution to light pollution. So the more streetlights that you have unshielded, the harder the problem will be to see stars in the night sky. And so you're too young, Nicole, but when I was a young kid, they had 2 major campaigns they had one campaign on anti-littering and another one on anti-smoking. And I think in some respect that changed the culture a bit. It changed the mindset of people because you don't, I think percentage-wise, see quite as many people smoking or littering as you did when I was a youngster. And so what we're trying to do here is to bring awareness to the public of the problem of light pollution and how it is increasing over the past few decades, becoming a much more serious problem, but that we can actually do something on a local level to prevent it from getting any worse. And so as you can see here on the previous map, you have the night sky image all over the world, the one you just had up, Nicole. And it's very, very easy to see where the cities are located. And that is because the lights are the light is going up into space where it's not being used, right? It's just totally wasted light. So you'll see, for instance, in the United States over there, mostly the eastern half of the United States, there's barely any dark areas there. When we get, well, I should say, in the United States, for instance, there's about $2 or $3 billion a year that are wasted.
It's over 2. In fact, it's enough to pay for another mission to Mars, like Curiosity, every year.
So that's pretty impressive. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. And the very next picture that you did have there, you could show for a minute there or a second. The very next slide. Yeah, this is a good graphic in terms of how it's getting worse over the years. So you go from the late 50s all the way up until when our kids are having kids, and over those decades, the light pollution problem is getting worse and worse and worse. And so what we're trying to do here at the National Observatory is to bring awareness to the public in terms of a campaign like Globe at Night, so that people not necessarily start turning off their lights, per se. It's not quite that kind of thing. We want people to stay safe, but to learn how to light responsibly. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
I love how it becomes light responsibly. So it's like, we're not going to get you to stop drinking. We're going to get you to drink responsibly. Well, this is just the next step of we're going to get people to use electricity responsibly. And it really is profound how much the change is happening. And we can't stop it because, unfortunately, while some of the light, most of the light, is caused by stupid things like lights going up the front of buildings and then out into space, you also do get nice downward-facing light that then hits shiny objects and reflects straight upwards. And since we don't have a fully absorbent asphalt, there always will be reflected light, but that's at least not nearly as big of a problem.
Right. And so what is the percentage?
So asphalt, when it's brand new, is very similar in reflectivity to the moon. And if you look at the full moon, it's like crazy bright.
Yeah.
And you put a lot of light shining down onto asphalt, and a fair amount of that's going to go back up as well, so about 9%. And of course, as asphalt ages, it actually gets more reflective. It gets brighter.
Well, comets, for example, we think of as these really bright things in the sky, but those are some of the darkest surfaces in the solar system. You know, that would be like a dark, gravelly thing if you could actually hold it in your hand.
That's a really good comparison.
Yeah. So then how does Globe at Night contribute to this? I know you do individual campaigns. I know there's another one coming up in about a week or so.
Right. Yeah, this began as a one-time-a-year campaign just in March when it was about the equinox, so that both the northern and southern hemispheres could use Orion, which is right on the celestial equator there, and it could be seen by both the northern and southern hemispheres pretty easily around the equinox. So we would pick a time when the moon wasn't out in the early evening, so that kids could be involved. You know, people from 8 to 80 could be involved and take data. And so basically, you just go out in the early evening and look at Orion at that point, and as I said before, compare to charts what you see and select it and put it online. But that grew over time to now 5 campaigns. And so when there is no moon for about a 10-day period in the early evening, we go outside from January to May, from 8 to 10 o'clock, depending on what latitude you're at, because it's still fairly light sometimes as you get towards the summer in the northern latitudes and southern latitudes for the other half of the year. But still, it's still a good period, a good opportunity, I would say, to do the observations and contribute to this campaign.
The nice thing about Globe at Night is it's shockingly easy. So if you want to go and do something to contribute to the campaign, it's not an involved, advanced, difficult process. And so Connie's right. I mean, kids of all ages can participate, and it's a worthwhile thing.
Yeah, it really is easy. I always say it's one of my favorite citizen science programs because it really is kid-friendly, family-friendly, everybody-friendly, and teacher-friendly, which is what I always look for. The site itself, you guys have great resources for teachers, parents, kids, everybody on the site. The instructions are really clear and lots of great activities if you want to do some preparatory kinds of things with students inside the classroom or at home. There's it's a great set of resources there. So you're right, it really is. It's very easy, and kids and parents, could do it independently of school in the classroom.
Did you want to show the site, perhaps? I could share.
Yeah, did we give the site or?
And I could.
I put the link on
I think you
the event page.
globeatnight.org.
So if you guys are watching there, it's globeatnight.org.
That's right there.
So my internet being slow, oh, you got it, sweet.
And
there we go. We can push that out.
Yeah. And so you have across the top.
Okay, so it looks like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. You have all sorts of resources. You have, if you go to the learning page, you can go and do a sort of a light pollution interactive and look at, for instance, any of the 3 constellations that we have and choose a magnitude to see how bad it would get. So if you go to lower magnitudes, you get less stars. If you go to higher magnitudes, you get a lot of stars. And you can also choose your location. So if we did it in South America, you notice how the orientation of Orion changes. So it kind of flips. He's sleeping right now. He's on his head if you go further south, so it's kind of a neat thing to teach kids that too. But there's a lot of other resources you can get here too, from mythology to different kinds of interactives if you want to even just learn where to find Orion in the night sky. You can use that particular interactive. And then we have your instructions on how to observe, and each of these orange areas here are links to other materials you may want to read if you want to learn more about magnitude charts. What is a magnitude? What do you mean by stellar magnitude? And what a latitude and longitude is, because for a kid in school, for instance, or even for some people, they don't know what you mean by latitude and longitude or how to find it for your own location. So all of that's kind of taught here, and so if you, for instance, I don't know if I can. Okay, so you can see this in one fell swoop here. The magnitude charts again get more stars as you go along, and you can change if you're in a different latitude. You can change the orientation here on the screen as well to different locations, north and south.
And this shows just how totally screwed up the magnitude system is, because earlier people may have heard you say, so you switch it to a higher magnitude and suddenly there's more stars, and that's because higher magnitude means substantially fainter objects. Higher number, fainter stars. It's backwards. We deal with it. It's astronomy. We're kind of crazy that way.
I blame my ancestors, the Greeks. They must have,
yes.
They had no television, so they had to sip a lot of wine, and this is what they came up with.
So that's how that works.
Yeah.
So we all need to go to Greece and do Globe at Night there, because it will make the most sense.
Oh, that's my desire, actually.
Sure.
Pamela, aren't you going to a conference in Greece this
Yeah,
summer?
Connie and I may both be there with Rosa Doran and the Galileo Teacher Training Program and a bunch of other amazing European educators this summer.
I think you need to do that, even though it's not an official Globe at Night campaign time. I think you need to do that.
So
Be
how
like,
do
look
you
at us,
choo-
we're Hipparchus.
how do you choose when to do globe at night? Because I'm sure things like snow cover and stuff like that must confuse your results.
Well, that's a good one. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to get back on the screen.
Hit the screen.
Oh,
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, we determined it just because we know when the moon is not going to be up in the early evening. You can predict that from looking at the lunar phases, and so usually it's somewhere between like a few days before third quarter, all the way until new moon. That's pretty much when there's like from 8 to 10 at night, kids and adults can go outside and take their measurements.
And of course, because it's globe at night, we have people in the southern hemisphere where it's summer now.
Right.
So, and it's pretty interesting though. You have summer vacation actually when Globe at Night starts in January down in the southern hemisphere. So you don't see them ramp up until March. So we're expecting a lot this March.
But at least they're not freezing.
Yeah.
Yes. Like we're doing right here.
And then you have people from Finland emailing me and saying, "I'm so sorry. It was so cloudy. We couldn't take any measurements." And I say, "Okay, don't worry. 3 more campaigns."
We have a question from Chris Rand on the YouTube site. Since he's up at some crazy hour, like 4:30 in the morning, like some of us are often, can they do observations at that time?
Well, yeah, as long
Does
as
that
the
work
moon,
out with the constellation?
as long as the moon is not out, it's a natural light bulb in the night sky, so you don't want that out there because you won't be able to determine what your light pollution contribution is from artificial sources. So as long as that's not out, send me the measurement. There's a particular file I can also post with Nicole that we use to record. It's like a spreadsheet, and then that could be sent back to me if you'd like. We usually give those out for people who are taking like over 100 measurements, but if it's at an odd time that is not during the campaign, then I would say please use that spreadsheet and get it back to me, and we'll make sure it gets on the database, because otherwise the database is actually closed. It only is open during the campaign periods.
But in the future, when you're running campaigns, do observations during campaign windows have to occur only between 8 and 10 p.m., or can they go anytime the moon isn't up?
No, it can be done during the campaign periods, just perfectly fine when the moon's not up. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Very cool. And then you have some apps as well, as I understand it.
Oh yeah, we have this thing called the web app, and people look at us a little crazy when we say that because it's not it doesn't sound right. It's actually not an app as you know it traditionally that you buy from the Apple Store or something. It's just what we have as a report page on the web as part of our website, but we've made it so that it is useful on any phone at all, not just an iPhone or an Android, but any phone and any tablet and any computer. So what it looks like, and I could just screen share shortly here.
Oh, I think I have that up.
You have it too? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Is this it?
Good. Thank you.
Is that it?
Okay, you got it? Good. All right. And then so what you see there basically is it's very easy. If you have a smart device, whether it be a phone or a tablet, and of course your computer will do it automatically, it puts in the date and time and your location just automatically. So it knows where you are, it knows the date and time from the iPhone or the tablet, and you don't have to even lift a finger. So it's that easy. And then the only 2 things that you must put in, other than that, is the number 3, where it says how dark was the night sky. So you choose your chart, and you will see at the bottom of the chart all these little thumbnail windows or thumbnail images, and you just basically flip through them, as maybe Nicole's doing now. I don't know. Oh, you're not. Okay, let me screen share this.
No.
Yeah,
Okay,
she's on a picture
sure.
of the site.
Yeah, I just have the picture up.
Can I show them this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you flip through the thumbnail images, and you can see how those stars get, more and more populated because you're able to look at fainter and fainter stars as you go towards higher magnitudes, which are called the limiting magnitudes. That's how faint you can see for a star. And so that's the only thing you have to do is pick that and how cloudy or not your night sky is. So you can see the choices there. There are only 4 choices, and we made them pictorial, so they're kind of understandable in almost any language.
Now, what all does this data that's being collected get used for?
Whoops! Hold on.
You're
for a
still
second.
here. You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, you know what happened is I changed to a different window. So let me get.
So we can see you. You can't see us.
Sure.
We can see you.
Okay. There we are. I am so sorry. Your question again. I'm sorry.
What all is the data getting used for?
Okay. Well, it gets used for a number of different things. We're exploring more and more as time goes on. But for instance, we have projects with the Arizona Game and Fish Department where we actually examined the lesser long-nosed bat, believe it or not. And we took the telemetry and put these little radios on their feet and followed them across, about 25 kilometers across town and collected a bunch of telemetry. And then this was, I know, isn't it funny? You think like, that was the reaction of many astronomers at Observatory. Say, what? What are you doing? And then we compared this to the globe at night data. It was the light pollution data. And we had, in Tucson, because we started it here and in Chile, actually, we have like 3,000 data points, just the visual data points looking at Orion, and we have another 1,000 measurements with the sky quality meter that I could tell you about in a little while. And and that in itself, by comparing those two databases, we were trying to analyze, whether or not we should make the laws stricter here for the protection of these bats, because they seem to be preferentially traveling around the city, basically, and avoiding the bright areas. And after much environmental kind of manipulation of the data, which is amazing, what the kind of math they use, I can't even describe.
And when an astronomer says that, it's always important.
Yeah.
Gotta be some math.
This is a PhD astronomer going, oh God, the math.
The statistics was really something. So it came down to 3 major parameters that really affected the situation, and one of those 3 was the light pollution level, or level of lighting. So that was kind of interesting, and we're still trying to get them to write this up. But it was a really neat project, and this is with a research experiences for undergraduate students, 2 summers. It was really nice.
Yeah, it's amazing that the light pollution just doesn't affect humans. It affects other species hanging around on the planet, right?
Yeah, that ties to a question we got from Chris Midden on YouTube, whether there's any research on the impact of light pollution on humans, animals, insects, particularly in the Midwest or anywhere.
Well, I can tell you that
talking about the bats.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
There are definitively studies being done on humans, and there's various types of ways it affects our health. And there are studies being done by, I think it was University of Thomas Jefferson, is it university?
For Stephen Glass?
That was, I think, Bud Brainerd. But,
okay.
And then there's David Blask, I believe his name is.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and there's some other medical scientists that are doing studies on either how it affects our sleep, and also how it affects our melatonin levels, and that relates to the chances of getting cancer. So believe it or not necessarily for people who just drive around at night with lots of lights on. It's for people who are night shift workers, basically.
Oh dear.
And are up, 8 hours a night under lots and lots of light and not really getting the kind of rest that they need to replete their melatonin levels. And that's what actually has ties to the risk of getting a couple different kinds of cancers.
So just to try and clarify that a little bit, is it from not having a place with blackout curtains to sleep, or is it's the lack of blackout curtains for sleeping during the day, or alternatively having a bright bedroom due to the street light outside at night?
So for those of us that was that a warning bell?
No.
I lose my prize. Sorry, I was buzzed off. For those of us that keep kind of a normal schedule where we're active in the daytime and less so at night, there's a lot of things that can be done to introduce light into your evening, into your sleeping, that can be a problem. So for instance, I have a cable box in my bedroom with the TV with crazy bright LEDs on there.
Yeah.
Black tape over them, so that I can sleep in a dark room. I have an electric toothbrush with the brightest blue LED you've ever seen. You could, like, I don't know, signal the space station with it. It's got black tape over it. And blue light in particular seems to be a real problem because blue, as in the blue sky, keys the body to daytime. And so one of the things that I've got on my laptop for home is actually something that changes the color temperature of my screen so that during the night it's a warmer color, blue, to cut down on that influence for me. Now, we do know that people that are doing shift work, often their sense of day and night can be really skewed. Particularly when they do it for a while and then they don't, and then they try to go back to a regular day-night cycle. And then, telescope operators, astronomers.
Sounds like me and Pamela every week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Prime people to potentially have these kinds of problems. It often isn't, a street light outside, but it certainly can be that kind of an issue as well.
And this is the software that he was talking about. I actually have it on my computer as well. It's called Flux. Yeah. And if you do Google Hangouts, it can serve two purposes. One, you can adjust the color of your screen so you don't look blue and garish when you're hanging out at night. And the other is because it does automatically change the temperature of your screen in terms of color temperature as the sun goes down. As the sun outside goes down, your screens get redder and redder. So I'm actually experiencing this during the Hangout. I have studio lighting in here, but my screens are getting redder and redder as we talk.
Probably not a good thing if you're going to do a lot of image processing. And
it has the ability to disable it for an hour at a time or to just completely turn it off. So I regularly ruin my ability to go to bed at a rational hour by turning it off to work on Photoshop.
Oh, wow.
And then, part of that question before was about effects to the natural world. And we should remember that our lights do have an impact on the natural world. They don't have apps for their laptops that they can adjust or curtains that they can pull. So there's certainly an effect on not just bats, like Connie mentioned, but birds and insects and sea turtles and many species in nature.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, you have like the poor sea turtles who hatch and they can't find their way back into the ocean because they're distracted by the lights on shore. And you have birds that they're kind of diverted from the migratory patterns and they end up hitting buildings and dying, and so there's a lot.
There was the interesting study with the World Trade Center beacons for the memorial that I remember you relating to me at one point. That was just one of the most eye-opening things I've heard. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you can tell that story.
I can. Most people are probably familiar with the two twin beams of light that they use on the anniversaries of the 9/11 disaster. And this is also done during the time of bird migration in the New York area. So migrating birds will be passing through New York City, and these two intense beams of light basically attract the birds. They sort of become hypnotized by these, and they'll fly and fly and fly around within those beams of light, essentially until they become exhausted and plunge to their death. Also, tall illuminated buildings, birds will just fly directly into them and collide. Yeah. So turning off those lights are really good. If you ever get a chance, I've seen some people that have shot time-lapse photography in New York City during that, and now there are watchers that stay up at night to look with binoculars to look for birds in the beams of light, and they'll kill the beams so that the birds have a chance to fly off. I don't know how many of them return when they come back on, but at least people are making an effort now to try to not be killing birds as we're trying to memorialize some people.
Yeah,
and many people off the coast of Florida have a curfew, and so they draw their curtains at 8 o'clock or whatever, and that helps the situation for the hatching sea turtles too. So there are measures being taken.
What can you say about responsible lighting? So you mentioned that before. In fact, we have a question from Michael asking, how can everyone helped reduce light pollution in addition to these other measures being taken.
Ah, well, that's a very good. We can actually show you a small demo if you'd like.
Yes, please.
That's right, the demo.
And this is our demo.
You can set this up properly.
Okay.
Okay.
Try not to get dizzy. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Well, let me show them the activity first before you dim the light. Okay. Thank you. All right. So we're gonna try to orient this so you can actually. You might have to actually be the.
Point it there. Yeah.
Almost. You can almost see it. Okay. You might have to go this way.
Houses and a bus. Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
You know, Nicole, you're all garbled. I don't know exactly why, but.
Yeah, your audio is getting pixelated.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, it's a compression rate issue.
Okay, so you have to hold it
So
up.
you want me to hold this?
Yeah, you're gonna get pretty tired doing that, but that's the only way I can
Wow.
Right.
see. Yeah. So we have a little city scene here. It has to go a little bit so that the cross streets are in the crosshairs of this screen here. Okay, so we have a city scene. We have somebody that refuses to stand up. That's okay. We have a couple of cars I stole from my son. He doesn't mind at all though. And people not to scale, basically. And then we have, let me see if I can click this to you.
It's an unscale model.
Unscaled model. Here are our street lights, and this is really unscaled, but anyways, it gives you an idea. And so you have the street light that is at our corner here, standing next to somebody. Can you see that there? Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
so it's kind of hard because I have a little window looking at you guys. And then we have, what you're going to see a little bit later on, is our very high technology portable planetarium. It's a box that's like one of these mug boxes that you tape shut so that all the corners are sealed and you don't get any light leak. And you have your students puncture holes, about 100 holes in the top, and they curse you afterwards. And you can't have them mass produced for some reason. Well, anyways, that's another longer explanation. And then you have a second mag light, you can see here, that serves as your source of light for the portable planetarium. Okay? That's what we're going to use in a few minutes. I'm not sure you're going to be able to see the stars that come out of here, but that's the what you would do if you had the opportunity where you are. And then we don't usually give away the punchline, but while the light's on here, we have a shield, and it is a PVC cap that we have shellacked so it's not transparent. And we leave the inside white because a lot of lights have a reflective surface, which maximizes or optimizes their capacity for lighting where you want it lit. All right? Are you tired yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. I'm going to have to go around and shut off the lights because the poor guy's holding this darn thing.
Yeah, when the laptop falls, you'll know.
Okay.
We're going to plummet to Earth.
Oh, okay, I'll be careful then.
All right.
That would be one heck of a meteorite given the size of that town.
Okay. So I'm not sure you can see this because we have the light from the Mac, my Macintosh here, that's kind of lighting up the scene. But if you're able to see that, I'm trying to look. Let me see.
Well, ironically, the area around the streetlight is the darkest area of the town.
Ah,
Yeah.
so she
It
can see.
doesn't. It's over exaggerated here, but usually in a very dark room, you will see this much darker than it's appearing here. But the point of all this is I usually do this with a bunch of kids, and I ask them that just one question. They cannot turn off the streetlight. That's the #1 rule. But the one question basically is, what can you do to direct this light down instead of up into space where it's totally wasted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they finally get it. What do you think the #1 answer is? What do you think? Come on, you three. Well, I'll tell you if you don't want to guess. You want me to tell you?
Point it or cover it?
I don't understand small children, so yeah, turn it upside down.
Turn it upside down. There you go.
Rather a cute response, but anyways.
Levitating streetlights.
Levitating streetlights. But finally, I mean, in one instance, we had a kid come over with a pizza and say, "Oh, you just cap it, right?" And when you cap it, you're causing all the light to go down, right? So we have this cap. We finally show them. And when you do that, all the light is directed downwards, and I don't know how well it's showing up where you guys are.
Looks really good.
Yeah, and so now you can talk about other things as well. Okay, You're making it safer for the people at the intersection. There's no glare, so that people coming down the street are not affected. Their eyesight's not affected by the glare from the light source. You just see the effect on the ground, the footprint. And that's what you want. You want the light where you need it, and then you could talk about when you need it and how much you need. All right. So those two factors, the when and the how much, you can go into little speeches about curfews and motion sensors and timers and all sorts of things that you could employ. And then the most important part, I think, besides the shielding, though, is the type of light you can use. And then you can get into conversations about the kinds of lights that are more energy efficient. And if you do that, you can say, okay, if I cap this and all the lights going down, can you reduce the wattage on that bulb?
Right, yeah.
Of course, the answer is yes. And then you save what? Audience?
Money, power, carbon footprint.
All those
Yes,
two things.
all
That's
of them.
exactly right. So, so it's a win-win situation. The other win is the safety, and the other win is you can see the night sky much better, right? Because you're shielding your lights. And then that's the point where we show them the before and the after, with and without the shield, of what what it would look like. So you can see the stars.
Ooh.
Shiny.
You see the stars?
Yeah. No, we can't. It's too close.
Could be 4.
Sorry. I'm not a very good Vanna White, so.
You're fine.
And so that, in a nutshell, is our light shielding demo. And this has been done quite a few ways, but very similar all across the world.
Well, one of the awesome things that you can learn from this particular demo is the type of street light that you're mimicking with this mag light without the shield on it is one of those standard candle top lights. A lot of historic neighborhoods have them. Much
Like
to my
yours.
shame,
Yeah.
my community just replaced all of its nice shielded reflected lights with historic lighting that is just like the one you built. And the irony of these unshielded globe on the top of the pole lights is if you're leaning against the pole, you're in the deepest shadow. And it's only by having the light reflected downwards instead of having the bottom part of the light lost to the pole the light is on, that you actually succeed in illuminating around the pole.
Yeah, the International Dark Sky Association has a beautiful set of slides, and there's one slide just like that where someone, you can see them standing about 4 feet from such a light, and then in the next slide, you don't know where they are, you can't see them, but they've only moved 4 feet underneath, directly underneath the light, and you can't see them anymore. Yeah, there's a lot of good slides like that that exemplify well, how not to light, actually.
Have you ever used this demo with adults? So as you go to like town meetings and things to try to talk to people about correct lighting, sensible lighting.
And I've certainly used this with the city council.
Yeah.
And
how did they do?
They did fine. And the thing I like about this demo that makes it so great is that anyone that doesn't get it, from a kid to an adult, and even an elected official, gets it when they see this.
Yeah.
They understand. I mean, if they don't care anything about astronomy, they understand glare, and they understand how it gets so much better when you shield that light.
You could talk about light trespass, into another person's window from this demo. That's another type of light pollution. And then, of course, the with and without the cap, you can talk about sky glow, basically, and that's the third type of major light pollution effect. So yeah, that's a pretty good demo, and we've used it everywhere. You cannot believe how many places we've used this thing.
So is it maybe time to set the...
This is something...
I think his arms are getting tired. What, can we tell him he can sit? I think so.
Yes.
All right.
Hold on to your eyes if you're watching.
Hold on to your eyes, yeah.
Hold on, kids. Woo!
Sorry about that.
Whoa!
And that's a simple demo. Yeah, anyone could bring to their, I guess, city council to talk about that. Obviously, Pamela, it seems it's too late for your neighborhood.
It is far too late for my neighborhood.
Yeah. This is a demo that anyone can do. Yeah, I get light pollution because I'm an astronomer, but that demo really brought it extra home for me. I don't know.
You're pixelated again.
Yeah, Nicole, it's really hard.
Nicole, yeah, you just became a modern art experiment. It was really kind of awesome.
And a robot, almost.
So one of the things that you just brought up, Scott, is that you are going before city councils. You are talking to people about city ordinances. How has the data that kids, teachers, community members have taken been able to actually influence legislation around the United States and the world?
Well, one Norman Oklahoma is a good example.
Okay, well, you tell it then.
Somebody tell us.
She's like whispering the answer in my ear.
No, there's one really good example, and it's actually on one of the slides there. I think it's slide 25, where a city, during one Globe at Night campaign, took data, both visual, and took about 500 data points that were visual data points throughout their city, and then another 500 with that sky quality meter, about playing card size device that takes also the same type of data. And they made maps and they showed the city council, and it took about 2 years for them to get the lighting regulations through, but they did it. And this was part of the process. This data helped them to get it verified, to get it actually the codes made. If that makes any sense.
So there's the image showing the before and after, where you can actually see that the city got dark.
Oh no, that's something else.
A different one.
Oh,
no, that's a good example, because that one there does show you exactly what Pamela said. This city in Chile decided to retrofit their lights, and you can see that it's such a difference, because the footprint you can see on the ground, you don't see the lights anymore, and that's what you want. You want just the effect and not the source of light.
And so am I allowed to use a commercial message for a major big box retailer?
Sure.
So we're pretty excited that Lowe's now carries dark sky friendly fixtures in all of their stores.
Oh, that's awesome.
Many of them feature a display and that talks about neighbor friendly lighting, so that the light goes where you want it and not all across the neighborhood. Home Depot carries a couple as well, but Lowe's has really just had a big rollout just in the last 2 months or so. And we're pretty excited, because one of the things that has always happened is you give this talk and people are like, yes, I want to make a change, and where do I buy it? And you go, well, and it's not that way anymore. It's really easy to go
really
and
fabulous.
buy the right fixture for your home and make a switch up.
So we have a question actually about where you need data taken. So in general, Chris Rand asks, which data set has more value, data from a rural area or data from a major metro area?
Actually, you need both. You need the rural area, because it sets the bar, basically, of how dark you can possibly get, and it shows the world, the best parts of having such a dark night sky. And you need the city, because that's where the problems are. And so you need to monitor, especially the city, from year to year to year, and even the rural area, to see if it's not getting any worse, if it's still maintaining its good dark skies. And so we advocate to do it not just one time in one place, but actually to spread as many measurements as you can throughout the city, and to so you can create a map, and then also to do that yearly at least.
Yeah, and you talked about. Oh, go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
I was going to say, earlier we saw the whole Earth at night picture, and you might wonder, well, why do we need to do this if we have the picture of the Earth at night? And you need to remember that the light that goes through is a little different from what gets scattered around in the atmosphere. And so that's a picture of what you can see from space, which is not the same as what we have to deal with down here.
Yeah.
So that measurement provides a literal ground truth to what the satellites tell us, and can be really valuable to have.
Right. You mentioned earlier the Adopt a Street program. Can you tell us how that came about and what part that plays with the rest of the program?
Well, there were people scattered around the globe that actually wanted to do more than just one measurement, and wanted to do it in a systematic way. So we thought about it, and we tried it a couple of years ago in Tucson, and it worked really well. If you take a look at the 2011 and 2012 data, you'll see that things are very much evenly spread along roads, north and south and east and west in Tucson. And that's primarily because what we did was we just picked about about 20, actually we picked about 70 streets in Tucson, and a good fraction of that was populated by people who signed up, and we don't take their names and anything like that. It just says adopted across the street, so they know. that they have that street, and they go, and it could be a 7-mile street. They just go once every mile and take a data point and then submit it online, and it comes out to be a nice grid throughout town. And last year we opened it up to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and they had like no measurements the year before, or maybe I think it was 3 measurements, and then it opened up and it was like at least 100 measurements they got last year, which was really, really nice. So that was a big improvement for them. And so we have about 10 other sites, maybe a dozen sites now that have signed up, and they're doing it around the world, and we're trying to get more people. So every time you do that, we actually create a web page explicitly for that town, and they can sign up because they've given us their names of the streets that they want to cover, and they've sort of gone through and edited that little description we have of the Adopt a Street program to fit their situation, and we make a web page just for them.
You need to get newspapers to have their newspaper delivery humans do their delivery routes as dark sky things.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
I like it.
We'll take that under serious consideration.
Be the next program. It's great.
So you can get to that on our homepage. It's right in the middle of the page on our homepage. It just says, if you're really keen on doing something like this, hit this button.
Okay.
So, go ahead, Georgia. So one of the things that I've been really amazed to watch you accomplish over the years was back in 2009, you worked with the IAU and the UNESCO World Heritage Foundation on passing dark sky ordinances, and that's now starting to become a reality. And I'd love to hear you talk about how we're not just protecting melting architecture anymore.
I'm sorry. The B5 resolution, or do you mean something more?
The UNESCO World Dark Skies Heritage Sites.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm not sure exactly what to expound upon this, but they're doing a lot to protect it. Well, this is a Starlight Initiative mostly, and it's not quite my bailiwick. This is a brainchild of Cipriano Marin, and he is, basically the lead expert in this. And he created something called the Starlight Initiative. It was about in 2007, I think he started creating this. And he expressly wanted to protect the World Heritage Sites, not just because of the landscapes, but because of the sky, which is also a landscape. The night sky is just as precious to preserve as anything else, like the landscape itself. And that's what he was trying to make clear to people, and to take the measures through the UN and UNESCO to make that possible. And
if I can take a sidestep just a little bit, International Dark Sky Association just this week proclaimed 2 new dark sky places. Brecon Beacons National Park in Wales is a new International Dark Sky Reserve. So it's home to 33,000 people, but a big national park there, and they've done lighting retrofits, and they've measured the night sky. It's a great place when it's clear in Wales to go stargazing. And then today we announced Death Valley National Park in California as our newest international dark sky park, and it's the largest in the world.
And the hottest.
Yes, it is. The hottest and the lowest elevation.
So maybe what Scott, you might want Scott to do is explain a little bit more about the International Dark Sky Association, which is, different from the Starlight Initiative, but they have their own sort of dark sky programs for parks and for reserves and things.
That sounds good. And afterwards, I'm going to ask the two of you for some closing remarks as we near the 1-hour mark. So go ahead, Scott.
At the end of the debate, our closing remarks. Connie will give the rebuttal. International Dark Sky Association is a non-profit organization, and we've been around for 25 years now, and we work to protect the night sky, and we try to provide guidance on lighting legislation and how to do good lighting and how to do retrofit lighting, and we have this Dark Sky Places program that I mentioned earlier with dark sky parks and dark sky communities and dark sky communities. So there are just 4 of those in the world, of the communities, and 5 reserves and 11 parks now. And so we're just in the process of trying to raise awareness, trying to work with NOAO and Globe at Night to do that. And Connie's actually on our board of directors as well. And so that's IDA in a nutshell, very brief enough.
Yeah, and so it's a great organization to support if you're, if you'd like to do that. And to go to their website, it's www.darksky.org.
Yes, thank you.
And hold on again, I just did something really silly again.
Oh, we're looking at Connie's
I
email.
know.
It's attack of the inbox.
Oh, there we go.
Well, we
Okay.
can see you. We never know.
Forgive me for pointing. I apologize.
I'm becoming more savvy at this. This is my first time hanging out.
Yeah,
So,
so
yeah.
Well, we will be certain to have you back because Globe at Night is one of our favorite partners here at CosmoQuest, and we want everyone out there who has clear skies to go out and look up, and when the Globe at Night is running campaigns, to go out and record what you see, and then when it's cloudy, come inside and, of course, do moon mappers and all of our other CosmoQuest activities, or when you get too cold and you've reported your data.
Right.
Just remember, always report your data. Just to remind people of what's going on before I get the final remarks from these two, this has been Learning Space, hosted by the audio pixelated Nicole Gugliucci and Georgia Bracey, and I just stopped in because Connie's an old friend. I'm Dr. Pamela Gay. And this is sponsored every week by CosmoQuest. You can tune in at 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern, midnight GMT, and find out how you can better learn. We have a demo of the week. We giggle a lot about how we can learn new things about science. Factoid of the week, they put radio receivers on bats and figure out how they react to the dark. I love that. I'm going to be sharing that with anyone who sits still too long this week. You can tune in tomorrow at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, 9 GMT in order to learn what's going on at the Planetary Society with host Emily Lakdawala. And on Friday, Nicole will be hosting along with Fraser Kane the weekly Space Hangout. Now, Fraser and I are hosting this Friday's weekly Space Hangout where we bring you whatever's new in space news. And then, of course, Sunday night is our virtual star party. Tune into the event page because the time changes as the sun changes. Connie Scott, it's been wonderful to have you on this evening. Final words for our audience.
okay, could I show, let me see if, oh, I did it again. Could I show like a
Yes, show.
film or something?
I'm not going to point.
Okay,
There we go.
well, this is, let me see if I can share it first. Okay, and it'll come up and it'll, yep, okay, good. And
There, beautiful. The world at night.
Yep, this is the world at night. We host this during the Global Astronomy Month, and I would advocate that anyone who's really keen on such things Google's Global Astronomy Month, excuse me, and because it starts in April, it has a number of activities in there, including a bunch of dark skies activities, which also includes the International Dark Skies Week, promoted by the International Dark Sky Association. So, and another thing is the wonderful Earth and Sky photo contest that anyone, anywhere in the world can participate in. And last year we had about 600 people involved from all over the world, and let me just show you a little bit about what this looks like here.
That's stunning.
It's gonna just show. I'll show you just part of the video, and this is why we do what we do.
Okay, for some reason the video isn't coming through. We're just getting the sound. So we will post the link to that. It could be copyright prevention. They're pretty good about doing that with the browsers now. We will post a link to the video, which disappears the second you press play. But oh, that's stunning.
Yeah, see, they're all stunning. Maybe if I could, all right, hop through, but that's okay.
So we will share the link, and Nicole is pointing out in the chat that we are actually creating radio pollution when scientists put radio transceivers on the bats. So one person's science is another person's noise, to quote Nicole's common phrase.
Isn't there a program called Quiet Skies?
There is, and that's
Connie, I know we're kind of out of time, but I was going to ask that too. But there you go for Nicole.
So we'll have to
skies.
have you
Yes.
back to talk about radio protection and the fact that there's a school near Green Bank Observatory that actually isn't allowed to have Wi-Fi in the school to keep the skies safe for the radio telescopes. So this has been an hour that went far too fast. Thank you so much for joining us, Connie and Scott, and I look forward to
You're welcome.
anytime.
Yeah, great to see you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
City, just 2 stars maybe towards Orion, and charts will be like what you might have in a national park. And so they just choose the chart and put that online, and it goes into a big database with a bunch of other data from around the world.
I just wanted to point out real quick as well for our audience, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, if you have comments or questions or want to say anything about these dark skies activities we're talking about, you can comment in several places. You can comment on the YouTube page where this is broadcasting. We'll see that. You can comment on the event page on any of the other pages that this is posting on Google+. If you are watching somewhere else and want to use Twitter, use the hashtag #LearningSpace, and we will see your comment there as well. So we'll try and get through your questions throughout the show. Hi, Pamela. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hey, Pamela.
So sorry. As we were talking about before we went live, Nicole, Georgia, and I are all at 3 different locations in Edwardsville, although the 2 of them are probably about 100 feet apart.
Well, yeah, she's down the hall.
Yeah. So both our campus and my home are having bad internet, and it's 2 completely different.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Learning Space. My name is Nicole Gugliucci. I am a postdoc with CosmoQuest, and I'm joined by my 2 co-hosts today, Pamela Gay and Georgia Bracey.
No.
Fix that one. Pamela just dropped down.
Hi, I'm Georgia.
Georgia's our formal educator lead at
elusive
CosmoQuest, and Pamela Gay. Yeah, she's in a different building and having trouble as well. So this will be interesting. This will be a good ride. And we are joined today by Connie Walker and Scott Kardel. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
They're over in Arizona at the NOAO, National Optical Astronomical Observatory, and for some reason it's also snowing in the desert today. So how is that?
It was totally unbelievable. I could not believe it. I was on a telecon. I looked outside my window, and there were these huge snowflakes coming down, and my eyes just went. I couldn't speak for about 2 minutes.
It's bad for astronomy, but we need the moisture. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've been seeing pictures coming back from the observatories around Tucson, and yeah, everyone's just like, I don't know what to do with this fluffy stuff. That's pretty fun. So when it's not...
What we're trying to do here is to bring awareness to the public of the problem of light pollution, how it is increasing over the past few decades, becoming a much more serious problem, but that we can actually do something on a local level to prevent it from getting any worse. And so as you can see here on the previous map, you have the night sky image all over the world, the one you just had up, Nicole. And it's very, very easy to see where the cities are located. And that is because the light is going up into space where it's not being used, right? It's just totally wasted light. So you'll see, for instance, in the United States over there, mostly the eastern half of the United States, there's barely any dark areas there. When we get, well, I should say, in the United States, for instance, there's about $2 or $3 billion a year that are wasted.
It's over 2. In fact, it's enough to pay for another mission to Mars, like Curiosity, every year.
So that's pretty impressive. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. And the very next picture that you did have there, you could show for a minute there or a second.
Precipitating fluffy things from the sky and completely cloud covered. There's a gorgeous night sky for us to enjoy, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the issue of dark skies, preserving our dark skies, preserving our night skies. and the Globe at Night project, right? So, oh, and I know Connie and Scott have our demo of the week for us, so I didn't have to scramble to get one together today, so we'll get to that when you guys are ready. So, Connie, why don't you tell us a little bit about what is Globe at Night?
Well, Globe at Night is a citizen science campaign. It measures how bright or how dark your night sky is, and it does this in a very easy manner. And it invites people all over the world to be a researcher for a night or two, or how many nights they would like to do that, and to go outside, look at a constellation very similar to Orion, and look at what it appears to be, how many stars there might be, not counting them, but actually just trying to see what the faintest star might be and comparing what they see to one of 7 charts. And each of the charts gets, it has more and more stars on them. It gets progressively fainter. So it's really kind of neat. So like chart 1 will be like you have in New York.
Service providers. So we're concerned that the Midwestern storms are borking something between Illinois and California. So hopefully the show will not go as badly as the ice storms that are expected to hit us tomorrow.
Right.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell us, Connie, a little bit about what you mean by light pollution? What do we mean when we talk about light pollution?
Well, you can think of light pollution as the effect is the sky is sort of washed out by the streetlights, mostly from cities that are not sufficiently shielded, and that's the primary reason for why we get stars that are washed out at night. You know, contribution to light pollution. So the more streetlights that you have unshielded, the harder the problem will be to see stars in the night sky. And so you're too young, Nicole, but when I was a young kid, they had 2 major campaigns. They had one campaign on anti-littering and another one on anti-smoking. And I think in some respect that changed the culture a bit. It changed the mindset of people because you don't, I think percentage-wise, see quite as many people smoking or littering as you did when I was a youngster. And so